Good evening. Our top story tonight, the Los Angeles Rams absolutely dismantle the New Orleans Saints. I know the score doesn't actually indicate that, but this was a blowout. Derek Carr, king of garbage time. But we got to talk about some players that are the kings of fantasy football. Could Kyren Williams or Puka Nacua actually be the fantasy football MVP? And I know what you're thinking. Well, no, they're not the best players at their position. Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, those are the MVPs. And I would agree, especially Christian McCaffrey is the MVP. But value is the key to MVP. Christian McCaffrey was the guy at the 103. Kyren Williams, often undrafted. Puka Nacua, very late round if drafted at all. So, is Kyren Williams the MVP? Is Puka Nacua the MVP of fantasy football? We've got all that. We've got injury updates around the NFL and more on Player Profile Today. And so the Los Angeles Rams pretty much look like they are headed to the playoffs. They now control their destiny. If the Rams win their next two games, they clinch playoffs. If they go 1-1 over the next two games, they can still potentially control their own destiny depending on what happens this weekend. We'll see from there. But as of now, the Los Angeles Rams have a 70% chance at making the playoffs. Very much looks like the Lions and the Rams. Matthew Stafford could be returning to Detroit. Remember, the Detroit Lions, if they win out, they are the 2 seed at worst. They could end up being the 1 seed with the 49ers playing the Baltimore Ravens. That could change things. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But right now, Lions, Rams, very much in the cards in the future. And Shohei Ohtani was at the game as well. Amazing how the media is just pretending that he wasn't in Los Angeles the entire time, even though he's played in LA for years and years, but doesn't matter now. It suddenly matters because he has changed teams. He is on the franchise in LA. And so now the Rams acknowledge him. He comes to the Rams game. Congratulations to Shohei Ohtani. And congratulations to Matthew Stafford, who has balled the hell out this season. 328 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 big-time throws. DeMarcus Robinson catches a touchdown. He catches all 6 of his passes, 82 yards and a TD. Would it be nice if Cooper Kupp had that kind of performance, catches 6 of his 12 targets, so the same amount of receptions as DeMarcus Robinson. No touchdown for Cooper Kupp, 52 yards for Cooper Kupp, 30 fewer than DeMarcus Robinson. Disappointing from Cooper Kupp in the fantasy football playoffs, but absolutely not disappointed in the slightest by Puka Nacua. And now CJ Stroud clinched the offensive rookie of the year weeks and weeks and weeks ago. That is what he's going to win because he has been a MVP level quarterback this season. He's not going to win MVP, but CJ Stroud has played to that level. So CJ Stroud going to be offensive rookie of the year. Puka Nacua would be the offensive skill or offensive rookie of the year for CJ Stroud. Puka Nacua would be the rookie skill position player of the year. At the wide receiver position, he only needs 147 yards to set the all-time record for receiving yards by a rookie record held by Calvin Johnson, former wide receiver for Matthew Stafford. And it's crazy that Matthew Stafford could be responsible for 3 of the greatest wide receiver seasons of all time. I mean, Tyreek Hill was threatening to have one of those types of seasons. With the injury, doesn't look like he is going to get to the levels of Calvin Johnson and Cooper Kupp. But both Calvin Johnson and Cooper Kupp, historic seasons with Matthew Stafford throwing them the football. Now Puka Nacua very well could have a historic season. Only needs 147 yards over 2 games. Only needs 9 receptions over 2 games. And then Puka Nacua setting records. So very much would be the offensive rookie of the year if it weren't for CJ Stroud as a quarterback. But really, he could be the most valuable player in fantasy football from what we've seen from Puka Nacua this season. Puka Nacua has been a wide receiver 1 in his rookie season, and he's a guy you picked up off of waivers. And 6 times this season, during the regular season, that is, Puka Nacua scored over 20 fantasy points. He also scored over 20 fantasy points in the fantasy football semifinals. He just scored you 33 fantasy points. So 7 times this season, Puka Nacua has gone over 20 fantasy points. Is he a first rounder next year? Is he? He should be in the conversation. The season we saw from Puka Nacua, it is literally historic. You remember where you were drafting Odell Beckham after his rookie season? Puka Nacua won't get that hype because he's not a first-round pick. But Puka Nacua, literally historic. 9 receptions on 11 targets, 2 carries, 180 yards, and a touchdown on the day from Puka Nacua. Now over 1,300 yards with 2 games to go. About to be a record setter. Puka Nacua very well could be the MVP. But is he the most valuable player on his own team? Because Kyren Williams has been insane as well. 22 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown this week for Kyren Williams. Only 6 carries for Ronnie Rivers. Neither of them saw a target. Matthew Stafford was slinging early, and then they just coasted and handed the ball off. But Kyren Williams now the second running back in the NFL to eclipse 1,000 rushing yards. And he missed 4 games. 4 games missed from Kyren Williams, and he's up over that 1,000-yard mark. Christian McCaffrey was obviously the first to make it. But Kyren Williams, at his worst, scored 7.7 and 8.5 fantasy points. The RB28 and the RB31 on those weeks. So disappointing for sure, but still RB3 numbers. Not terrible, not good, but not terrible. And then Kyren Williams' third worst game this season was 14.3 fantasy points. He was the RB18. Other than that, he scored over, well, even that game, even his third worst game was over 10 fantasy points. 10 out of 12 games this season from Kyren Williams have been double-digit fantasy points, and he has had over 20 fantasy points in 6 games this season. So 6 games over 20 fantasy points from Kyren Williams, 7 games over 20 fantasy points from Puka Nacua. Who's the MVP? Who's more valuable? Let me know in the comments what you think. But in the meantime, we've got a word from the pod father.
This episode brought to you by Mojo. Mojo is that player stock market. We love Mojo because we like making lifetime bets on players. You run out the clock on these guys. Mojo just rolled out a brand new fantasy platform. That's right. So now you can build a portfolio of player props. Oh, Jamar Chase, over 77.5. Oh, Kadarius Toney, under 15.5. Whatever the under is on Kadarius Toney, doesn't matter. You can just stack up the props in your portfolio. And the beauty is, once the Sunday games kick off, it's not over. It's not over until it's over with Mojo, because once those games kick off, you can then move in and out of positions. Let's say that you're well ahead of expectations. You can cash out. Let's say you're behind expectations. You're underwater. Well, you can double down. That's what makes Mojo so special, why they're different. Check it out. Go to the App Store, get the Mojo app, and use the promo code UNDERWORLD. The promo code UNDERWORLD gets you a 100% deposit match up to $100. So the promo code is UNDERWORLD, and they will match your deposit dollar for dollar. Go to Mojo, start building your portfolio, and then during the games, you can be a fantasy day trader. Woo. Now, I know many of you are looking for a secret weapon for your Dynasty League, and I have it. It's called the Dynasty Dominator app. You go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's right there. It's $5 to download, and then every year it's $5 to load the next incoming class of rookies. You can add Superflex, add tight end premium. It's incredible because it allows you to look up players. It allows you to vote on whether a player is a buy, hold, or sell, and then see the market sentiment on that player. And you can compare their lifetime value rating from Player Profiler to their Dynasty ADP at the FFPC, all in the price lookup tool. And beyond that, we have a trade analyzer, so you'll never lose another Dynasty trade again. And in our settings, you can set this is a win now team, this is a rebuilding team, and then we let you compare players. Look at their metrics side by side, prospect metrics, NFL metrics. It's all there. It's $5 in the App Store. There's some add-ons for Superflex and to buy the upcoming rookie class. Every year, you're going to spend $5 on this thing, and it's going to be well worth it.
On the other side of the field, the New Orleans Saints, Dennis Allen, head coach, officially on the hot seat with a 24% chance at the playoffs. Before the loss, the Saints were at a 41% chance. So the Saints drop to a 24% chance at playoffs. The Rams jump to 70% chance. But Derek Carr, statistically, he looks good. I mean, 319 yards, 3 TDs, interception. Oh, fine game from Derek Carr, except it wasn't Derek Carr, king of garbage time. 2 touchdowns came in garbage time. His first touchdown to Rashid Shaheed came early enough in the game. But still, this was fake stats by Derek Carr. And Derek Carr should not be the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints next year. Derek Carr should be moved on from. The Saints should move on from Dennis Allen. The Saints should blow it up. And obviously, we don't like people losing their jobs. That's not a good thing. Absolutely not. But in the NFL, when you're a team like the New Orleans Saints, who just keeps trying to kick that can down the road, oh, well, maybe if we just patch a couple holes here and there, we'll get to a Super Bowl. And they're just so far past that. There is just no chance at winning with the current roster. And so you just have to sever ties with all those bloated contracts and start fresh. It's going to be a tough couple years for the New Orleans Saints. They're going to struggle financially to sign some players, but this is the reality that they have set up for themselves. They held on with Drew Brees for so long, kicked that can down the road, tried to continue it now with Derek Carr, and it just hasn't worked. So not going to work, won't work, hasn't worked, will continue to not work. So the Saints need to blow it all up. We'll see how they handle things in the offseason, whether they handle it correctly or not. Chris Olave, though, 123 yards on 9 grabs. He has a pretty solid day. Rashid Shaheed, touchdown, 70 yards on 5 grabs. Juwan Johnson, touchdown, 48 yards on 4 grabs. A.T. Perry, 35-yard touchdown, his only reception, only target of the day. Everyone balled out for the New Orleans Saints thanks to garbage time, except for Taysom Hill, who had just 2 carries for 2 yards, and Alvin Kamara, 14 touches, 35 yards, 5 receptions, only 16 yards, only 19 yards rushing on 9 carries. Just not the day for Alvin Kamara. And Alvin Kamara is expected to be cut in the offseason. Saints are expected to move on. Many running backs will be hitting free agency, pretty much all of them. If you're not already a free agent like Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson, A.J. Dillon, Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, so on and so forth, then you're a risk at becoming a free agent like Alvin Kamara, who they can save about $10 million by moving on from. We'll see how that shakes out, but going to be some changes for the Saints next year, going to be some changes in the NFL next year, and some changes for the Jets. They're about to have their 4th starting quarterback this season. Zach Wilson out with a concussion. Trevor Siemian is the starting quarterback. Now, remember, Aaron Rodgers is at practice. Aaron Rodgers is out. No word on whether he's officially the 3rd quarterback or not, but Aaron Rodgers going to be out, not going to play, but going to practice the rest of the season. Commanders going to be without Brian Robinson for another game. He continues to miss time with a hamstring injury. Antonio Gibson, RB1 for the Washington Commanders once again. Cardinals going to be without Hollywood Brown. He's battling a heel injury, not going to play this week. And we're starting to wonder if DeVonta Smith is going to play this week. DeVonta Smith did not practice yesterday, did not practice today. DeVonta Smith has dealt with a knee injury at parts of the season, has missed time at practice, but typically it's been a missed day, a limited practice, a full practice off the injury report. 2 days missed in a row officially has me worried for DeVonta Smith for the Philadelphia Eagles. They play on Monday. They play on Christmas. So we'll see if Jalen Hurts will have his wide receiver to this game. And we'll see if the Jacksonville Jaguars will have their quarterback. Trevor Lawrence did return to practice today in a limited capacity. We talked about this at length yesterday. If you do not practice Wednesday, do not practice Thursday, Friday becomes very pivotal. On Friday, if you don't practice, you are pretty much guaranteed to be out, because the way the NFL concussion policy works is you need a limited practice and then you need a full practice, which makes it very unlikely if you miss Wednesday and Thursday that you can get cleared in time for Saturday ahead of the game, because that's what needs to happen for Trevor Lawrence to travel with the team, to travel with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So he gets his limited session in today. He needs a full practice tomorrow. Obviously, the Jaguars don't have practice, but he needs to be upgraded to full capacity, which is a very short time frame. The Jaguars seem optimistic that Trevor Lawrence could play. I am more skeptical, but we'll see how this shakes out. We'll see if Trevor Lawrence is starting. CJ Beathard going to be ready to go if Trevor Lawrence cannot play. Of course, we know CJ Stroud not going to play. He's going to miss another game with a concussion. Get well soon, CJ Stroud. I hope he is able to return next week and carry the Texans to the playoffs. Remember, Texans, Colts, and Jaguars are in competition for the AFC South. They are all tied right now at 8-6. Titans are obviously not in that competition for the AFC South. Will Levis did not practice at all this week. Well, actually, sorry, he did get a limited session in today. I think he was listed as did not practice today, but he was seen warming up and throwing and stuff like that. So either way, Will Levis probably out with a high ankle sprain, may push it. Titans should protect him from himself, but you never know how the Titans are going to operate. Mike Vrabel is a madman, and more often than not, it ends up working out. Vikings are expected to be without Alexander Mattison. He did not practice at all this week, though he is listed as questionable. The Vikings are saying if Alexander Mattison tells us he's good to go, he doesn't need practice. So we will see if Mattison plays. Either way, fire up Ty Chandler. It's going to be a tough matchup against the Lions. The Lions are good against running backs, but Ty Chandler could be in for a massive opportunity this weekend. Good news around the NFL, though. It's not all bad news on the injury front. Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, both expected to play. Tyreek Hill battling the high ankle sprain. He's going to be at a reduced capacity. Devon Achane battling through turf toe. He's going to be at a reduced capacity, but both of them are going to be suiting up for the Miami Dolphins. Austin Jackson, their right tackle, he did return to practice today. Limited capacity, so he and left tackle Teron Armstead very well could end up playing in this one, though Robert Hunt, their right guard, he is going to be out. Dolphins getting injured at the wrong time. Same with the Green Bay Packers, though they're getting a little bit healthier. Aaron Jones off the injury report. He is good to go. He is going to play this weekend. Not sure about A.J. Dillon. Questionable with that thumb injury. Jayden Reed also questionable with a toe and chest injury. Jayden Reed did not practice at all this week, but the Packers are so confident in Jayden Reed and so reliant on Jayden Reed that they're saying, hey, if you tell us you can play, then we're going to play you because we need you at this point. Jayden Reed, Dontavian Wicks also shining just a little bit. Jayden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Christian Watson. It's going to be a dangerous group in 2024 for Jordan Love. They might add as well to that wide receiver room. Christian Watson, by the way, doubtful with a hamstring injury. He did not practice this week. Not expected to play. He'll be ruled out tomorrow by all expectations. Don't expect to see Christian Watson. I do think Jayden Reed is going to sneak in. Didn't practice all week. I think Jayden Reed is going to tough it out and play anyways. I could be wrong. Pay attention to those active inactives, but if I had to guess, Christian Watson out, Jayden Reed in. And for the Colts, Michael Pittman is in. He clears concussion protocol. He was limited on Wednesday. Very well ahead of concussion protocol for Michael Pittman. He cleared this very quickly. It is rare that you see a player even limited on Wednesday. Usually it's pretty much just didn't practice Wednesday, limited Thursday, cleared Friday, if they're going to be able to play. But Michael Pittman, limited on Wednesday, full on Thursday, another full practice on Friday means he is good to go. Michael Pittman is fully cleared. He's going to be playing this weekend. And so is Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor practicing in full once again. He is back. He is RB1. You are starting Jonathan Taylor, especially because Zach Moss looking like he's not going to play. Zach Moss dealing with that forearm injury, that shoulder injury, that wrist injury. It's been called all sorts of different things. Zach Moss probably going to be out for this one. Chargers cut starting defensive tackle Sebastian Joseph Day. Won a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams. Came over to the Chargers with Brandon Staley. And now he's gone. The Chargers are shedding talent. They're saying, hey, we know you're not going to be with us next year. You are not part of our future plan. So go, be free, land with your future home, maybe get a ring in the process. So when you see veteran players cut this late in the year, it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's the team just saying, hey, we respect you. We want to do right by you. Have fun. Go out there and play some games that matter. So Sebastian Joseph Day could be added to a team that could use reinforcements on the defensive line. I'm looking at you, Detroit Lions, the Detroit Lions who have general manager Brad Holmes, who worked and drafted Sebastian Joseph Day with the Los Angeles Rams. Lions could sure use a defensive tackle of that caliber. So we'll see where he ends up landing. Speaking of the trenches, offensive lineman, offensive tackle from Penn State, Olu Fashanu has declared for the NFL draft. He is headed to the NFL. Going to be a top 5 pick by all accounts. It sounds like the top 5 picks in some order. I'm just going to list them in order of position. QB, obviously, we've got Caleb Williams, who's probably going 101. Then number 2, Drake May, QB2, top 5 quarterback by all accounts. Marvin Harrison Jr., a top 5 worthy wide receiver. Olu Fashanu, a top 5 worthy offensive tackle. Some people prefer Joe Alt, the Notre Dame offensive tackle, who is also worthy of a top 5 pick, but it sounds like Fashanu's kind of locked in to that top 5. Joe Alt, more of a top 10 caliber player, but it is a pretty good draft that we're looking at here in the Combine, the Senior Bowl, all that fun stuff's going to be coming up. Make sure you stay tuned to Player Profiler throughout the offseason. Get ahead of your league mates next year. And Ryan Clark, former safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers, thinks that Mike Tomlin should get a fresh start. Mike Tomlin should take the Andy Reid route, leave the Pittsburgh Steelers, start fresh with another team. The fan base, the Pittsburgh Steelers audience, they so often blame everything on Mike Tomlin, call for him to be fired. Really, Steelers fans have just had unrealistic expectations for years now. Steelers had Ben Roethlisberger, who was just washed at the end of his career, but they just kept the band together trying to do right by the quarterback that did win them 2 Super Bowls. 2 Super Bowls? He won 2 Super Bowls, right? He won at least. Yeah, no, he won 2. He won the Seahawks won, and he did win the Cardinals. He lost the 3rd Super Bowl, which had me confused for a second. But anyways, Steelers want to do right by their quarterback, which is fine. I understand why some organizations play it that way, the goodwill that they get, but the fans thought they were still competitors and blamed Mike Tomlin for not winning Super Bowls with a washed Ben Roethlisberger. They were holding on, much like the Saints with Drew Brees, Giants with Eli Manning. They're just holding on to something that was gone. And so I don't think Steelers fans appreciate what Mike Tomlin has done for them at this point. I think Mike Tomlin would do fantastic somewhere else. And maybe he does have to take the Andy Reid approach. And speaking of coaches moving on, coaches changing teams, Arthur Smith has been fined by the NFL $25,000. The Atlanta Falcons have been fined $75,000. That's $100,000 in fines, thanks to Headache Gate. Y'all remember when Bijan Robinson had the migraines and ended up missing the game? He was active, but didn't play until the very end of the game. I don't think he got a carry. I think he got a snap, but not a carry. Either way, the NFL has fined the Falcons organization in total $100,000, $75,000 to the team, $25,000 to the coach. And that's not a good sign. If you are a coach that is newly on the hot seat, Arthur Smith was recently put on the hot seat by Arthur Blank, saying that it's been a mixed result and he expected improvement this year. Now you're getting fined for transgressions. Ooh, we could be looking at a new head coach for the Atlanta Falcons in 2024.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.